Hi everyone. So not long ago, I believe it was PBS maybe that made the list. They made a thing called the Great American Read List, where people are supposed to vote on like the Great American Read book, America's like most loved favorite book, whatever. So I was finally looking through the list, and it seems a lot of these books I have not read. A few I love, and a few I'm not sure I've even ever heard of. So we're going to go down the list and I'm going to tell you my thoughts and if I want to read them, if I have read them, etc. So, and there's a lot of books here. I'm pretty sure this is the list. I hope it is because a lot of these I've heard. So, number one is in 1984. Now, if you remember from my TBR unwrappings, one of my very first ones, I actually unwrapped this book. I have not finished it. And a lot of it's because just I wasn't totally in the mood. Like, I love the idea of dystopia and I really wanted to read that one, but the print size and the content and everything, I just didn't feel like I was in the right mindset to truly get the book. So it's one that I will have to come back to. I mean, like I said, I like dystopia, I like the premise and the ideas. I just didn't feel like I was ready to fully, like, understand and appreciate the book, but it is one that I will most definitely go back to. The next one is A Confederacy of Dunces. I'm not sure I've even ever heard of this one, so I will have to put that on the check that out list. A Prayer for Owen Meany. I don't think I've ever heard that one either, so that's going to have to go on that list too. A Separate Peace. I know I've heard of this book. It sounds familiar, but I have absolutely no idea what it's about. A Tree Grows in Brooklyn. So, here's the thing. There's a lot of books, both modern and classic, that I feel people know of. Like, they know the titles, they've heard of these books, but it's not referenced enough, maybe, say, in pop culture, to really remember what they're supposed to be about. And I've definitely heard of this book, and I'm sure I've read the synopsis before, but I honestly don't remember what this book is supposed to be about. So I would definitely have to look into that one, because I know it has been brought up, just not enough for people to really know the story. Like, there are stories that you can know of through television, movies, etc. And just like I said, references, some not so much. Next one is The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. Have not read that one. I know we read a couple of Twain's shorter stories in school, and he's definitely an author that I want to read more of within reading classics, because there's a lot of classic books that I have not read or I've read half of and I want to go back to. The Alchemist, that I've heard of. I have not read, and I don't know too much about that one. Next one is the Alex Cross series. Now, I'm pretty sure they've made movies out of these, and I'm pretty sure I've seen at least one or two of them. Thing, however, is James Patterson. From what I know, he uses a lot of ghostwriters, and that is something that I'm not, on board with. Like, I believe you write your own damn book. Editing's one thing, if you want to write with a partner and have help, but having somebody write your shit and taking credit for it just doesn't sit well with me, especially me having tried to write a full book for over a year, going through the process of editing and deleting and all that other stuff. Yeah, I don't think I'll be reading any of those books for that reason. Next one is Alice in Wonderland, and I have read this one. I even have one of those big, what is it, leather-bound, is that what it is? Books from Barnes & Noble. which is like really cute. Kind of interesting picture, and it's pink and like the trimming's gold. Yeah, it's gold. And I enjoy that story. It's fun, it's unique, it's Alice in Wonderland. I will say that I liked the cartoon better than the live action movie, and I think that's pretty much a big opinion for a lot of people. Americana, I can't honestly remember if I've ever heard of this one or not. The word Americana is just like used a lot. And then the word Nun, I have not read this, but I've heard of it. I'm not too sure what it's about other than the fact that it's a mystery and that the original title was extremely racist. Anne of Green Gables, I've probably seen that on TV once or twice, but I've never read it. I know some people like it. I'll have to check that out sometimes. Another Country, I have not read. Atlas Shrugged, I have not read. And Beloved, I have not read. They're obviously all classic novels. And have some heavy subject matter. Just the synopsis of Beloved, I don't know. That's a difficult one to handle. Bless Me Ultima, I'm not sure I've even ever heard of that one, but it has an interesting title. I'll have to check it out. The Book Thief, I started reading that. I had to take it back to the library, but luckily I found a copy at Goodwill, so I will be reading that one. That one, I haven't read a whole lot of historical fiction, so I figured maybe I should give more of it a try. Brief Wondrous Life, Oscar Roll. That one I have not heard of. Looks like it came out in 2007, so it's not that old of a book. The Call of the Wild, have not read. Catch-22, have not read. Catcher in the Rye, have not read. I have a copy of that, though, that I need to get to. I don't know too much about the first two books, but I know that that one definitely has like a lot of controversy around it and very mixed opinions. Charlotte's Web, I started reading that one. I have to go back to it. I did read Stuart Little, though, by A.B. White. So I'm sure I will like that one. Chronicles of Narnia, I've seen the first movie, part of like the second. I do have a big bind-up of all the books, so I would definitely be getting to that one. Clan of the Bear, or of the Cave Bear. I want to say I've heard of that one, but I don't know much about it. The Coldest Winter Ever. Have not read that one. Don't remember hearing anything about it. The Color Purple. Have not read. I can't honestly remember if I've ever seen the movie. The Count of Monte Cristo. I know that's a movie. I don't think I've ever seen it. And I've never read the book. Crime and Punishment. I have not read. But a lot of these, like I said, classic ones I want to get to. It's just I have not had the time to fully concentrate on that kind of thing because some of these are very thick. Obviously the wording's very different, so you kind of really have to be in that mindset to truly, appreciate and understand the story. It's not, a lot of them aren't light reads. Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime. I have never heard of that one, and it came out in 2003. Okay, it's a young adult novel. Interesting title. The Da Vinci Code. I've seen the movie. I've not read the book, which I should, because the chapters are very short from what I've seen. Don Quixote. That's a very old one. 1605. Have not read that one. Don Barbara. Not sure I've heard of that one. Dune. I know I've heard of that one, and it's a sci-fi. And I heard mixed things on that one. It looks like a thick kind of book, too. 50 Shades of Grey. Why is this on here? I don't know. It's people's opinions. I have not read it to judge, but just by reading what it's about and the criticism it's got, I don't know. I guess it's popular enough to be on there. I just have no interest in reading it. It's up there with the whole James Patterson thing. Not that she uses ghostwriters, but I think there's just so many better books. But like I said, I won't judge too much because I haven't read it, but just the ideas don't interest me. Maybe one day I'll pick it up to give it a try. But, yeah. Next one, Flowers in the Attic. I know I've seen the movie, and that's some fucked up shit right there. Not sure if I'd be ready to read that yet, but that is definitely something I will give a try to. Foundation series. I don't ever remember hearing of that one, so I'll have to check that out. Frankenstein, I've read part of that. It has a lot to it. It's very wordy. Very wordy. It's a freaking book, but you know what I mean. A lot of the older stuff is very detailed. It's a good book. It's entertaining, even though I only got halfway through it. But some of the subject matters in these books can be so dense and a lot. It's just, you know, just because something is small doesn't mean it doesn't have a lot to think about or a lot of detail in it. But I definitely want to finish that one because I was actually liking that one, and I know a lot of people do like it. A Game of Thrones. I have just gotten the first 2 books out of that series at Goodwill, so I will be starting that eventually. I've seen bits of the series, so it's not like I'm one of those people that just want to watch the series because I've already seen it. So that kind of helps. Ghost, from 2016. Apparently it's a young adult novel, and I have not heard of that. Gilead, from 2004, which is literary. I have not heard of that one either. So there's a lot of even newer books that I haven't heard of. Huh. Which is good that this list is here, because I like finding stuff that, you know, is beyond the trends. The Giver. You all know that I love this book. I have not finished the quartet. I've only read the second book, but it is fantastic. Oh my god, that is amazing. And again, it can be a difficult book to read because of the subject matter, and like I said, just because something is short doesn't mean that it doesn't have a lot to it, and that one definitely does for a young adult novel. The Godfather, I know I've seen the movie, have not read the book, probably seen the other sequels too and stuff like that, but I don't remember a whole lot about it. Gone Girl, I started reading that one. I had to take it back. I do have a copy of it, and I definitely want to get back to that one. I hear so many mixed things. I hear that people love it, that people are Anna, and, you know, but I want to read it for myself. Gone with the Wind, heard controversy about this one. It's definitely a thick book, and it's probably going to take me forever to read if I ever get to it. So next on the list is The Grapes of Wrath. I have not read this one, but I did read Of Mice and Men. Love that book. I haven't read it in years though. I read it like in 9th grade. And that ending. That ending. But it was a good book. Short book, but good. The Great Gatsby. Obviously, this book has become popular again with the film. Have not read it. I think it's another small one, so I should be able to get through it. I heard the characters aren't all that great, so it'll be a challenge for me because I'm very much a character reader. Great Expectations. I don't remember a whole lot about this book, but I did read it years ago when I was like 15. I think maybe if I reread it, I'd understand it more and appreciate it more, but that one I did read, but I feel I read it way too quickly. Gulliver's Travels. I remember the movie being maybe on TV, but I have not read it. Or I didn't really like watch it. And that was from 1726, huh? Very old. The Handmaid's Tale. Obviously, this has, again, much like the other book, become very popular again. I have this book somewhere. I will eventually get to reading it because I want to read as much dystopian as possible because I love the idea of the genre. I don't have much of an interest at all in watching the TV show just because, no offense to anyone, I don't think it's a great idea to make a whole show out of one book. Maybe a miniseries, a movie, but not a continuing TV show, which is why I will not watch 13 Reasons Why, because I just think that's ridiculous. Harry Potter. I have read 3 Harry Potter books. I am working on the 4th, just because I'm reading other stuff in between that, but I love this series. It is fantastic. I don't care how old you are. I mean, I understand, like, some people, they're not into that kind of stuff, which is cool, but, you know, if you're, like, into YA or fantasy, I recommend to at least try it. There are books that I have liked better, but it is a well-written story. She created this fantastical world with these characters that you care about. Hatchet. I read this years ago. I remember enjoying it. I don't remember all the details because I was like in 8th grade or whatever. But I really didn't like that. That's going to have to be a reread eventually. I know I got the book somewhere. I found it like at Goodwill. Heart of Darkness. I want to say I've heard of this, but I know nothing about it. The Help. I know people who have seen the movie. I've seen bits of it, but I never actually truly watched it. I know there's mixed views on this because, you know, people are very much into own voices with those type of stories, and this is not one. I hear it's somewhat problematic, but then somewhat good, so I don't know. Maybe one day I'll check it out. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I have seen the movie. I have not read the book, but from seeing the movie, I think I might actually enjoy the book if it's the same, because I like unique, funny, odd things. The next one. Next one is the Hunger Games series, which I have covered multiple times on this channel here. The first book is my absolute favorite book, pretty much, of all time. I've read it at least 3 or 4 times, mostly with the help of audio, but still about nearly 5 times. It's just a fantastic, fantastic protagonist, and like I said, I love stories that make you care about the characters, and it's got a lot of heavy subject matter for a YA book, much like The Giver and Harry Potter. The Hunt for Red October, I've never read. I can't honestly remember if I ever watched the movie. The Intuitionist, I don't remember ever hearing of that one. The Invisible Man, or Invisible Man, I never read that one. Jane Eyre, I've read part of it on my Nook, but the way it was formatted, it was kind of hard to read. Not the book itself. Even though, like I said, classics can take a little while getting used to the language and everything. But I was enjoying that book, but I had to find a better formatted copy. The Joy Luck Club, I have a copy. I've never read it. However, we read excerpts in school. Jurassic Park, I really want to read this one because I love the movie, and I hear the book is a lot more darker and gruesome, which would definitely be my thing. Left Behind series. I want to say I've heard of this. This sounds familiar. I have not read it. The Little Prince. I honestly haven't heard of this until recently, or at least I don't remember ever hearing it until recently. But it's become popular. But obviously, it's an old book from 1943. Little Women. I think I have that on my Nook. I have not read it yet. Lonesome Dove. I have not read it. It sounds familiar. Looking for Alaska. Okay, so I did one of my wrap-ups that included this book, and I had so many mixed feelings about this because this was one of the first books where I kind of hated the characters. Like, I preferred the side characters, really, but I enjoyed, like, the philosophy and the meaning of stuff in the book. Lord of the Rings, I have the big, like, full book bind-up thing, you know, where it's not separated into the trilogy. It's the actual whole book. And that's going to take me some time to get through because it's like thousands of pages. The Lovely Bones. This is one of my absolute favorite standalones ever. And I could just say so much about this book. It is beautiful and freaking heartbreaking. And if you need a good cry, you should read that one. The Martian, have not read it. I think there's a movie, have not seen it. I want to, though, because I heard a lot of good things. Members of Geisha. I've seen the movie, have not read the book. I need to read more literary stuff, so maybe I'll pick that one up. Mind Invaders. Sci-fi. I don't think I've ever heard of that one. Moby Dick. Now, I have a copy of this somewhere. I have not read it yet. I think this is the one that Todd said that he didn't like. But, like I said, I want to explore more classics, and I like sea animals, so maybe I'll like it. The Notebook. I read one book by Nicholas Sparks, and that was A Walk to Remember. I will always say to read the books, because as a writer, you know, I feel that we should appreciate the source material. However, I would probably rewatch the movie first. But yeah, that was the only book that I've ever read from him, and I don't care to read anymore. Maybe one day, but the whole romance thing just isn't my thing. 100 Years of Solitude. Was this author in, or I mean, like, mentioned in Looking for Alaska? I think they were, or maybe I'm wrong. Outlander. I've heard a lot about this one. I know it's a series, but I have not, like, on TV, but I have not seen it at all. Even bits of it. The Outsiders I've seen, have not read. Semi-interested in maybe picking up the book. The Picture of Dorian Gray. That has an interesting premise. I know there's been a couple movies, I think, but I don't remember seeing any of them. I think there's a newer one. Haven't seen that one. That's definitely on my to-read list. A Pilgrim's Process. Pillars of the Earth. I think I've heard of the second one, not the other one. Pride and Prejudice, I started reading this one, and I just couldn't, I just didn't feel like I was in the mood to get into it. But I definitely want to read Austen, and that one is on my Nook for free, so I can read that at any time. Ready Player One, I've already mentioned that this is on my to-read list, and I have it saved on Scribd for audio, so I'm very much looking forward to that one. Rebecca, have not read that one. I don't know too much about it, but I've heard of this author's other works. The Shack, I have not seen it. I picked up a copy of it from Goodwill, but I don't think I'm at the mindset to read it. It seems like something that would kind of bother me with the content. Like, The Lovely Bones was a lot. Siddhartha, I know I've heard of this one, but I've not read it. The Sirens of Titan. Not sure I've heard of this one. Obviously, I've heard of the author, but the title is not recognizable. The Stand, I have this one. It's a very, very thick book, and pretty much almost everyone I've seen review it seems to love it, so I'm gonna have to get through it one of these days. Sun Also Rises, I've heard of Hemingway. I'm pretty sure I've heard of this one. I have not read it. Swan Song, I want to say this was recommended to me. Maybe. Yes, I think it was. And, that I'm also gonna have to check out. Tale of the City series, I don't remember ever hearing of this one. Their Eyes Were Watching God, I've heard of this one, I'm not sure what it's about, I only heard that title. Things Fall Apart, don't remember that one. The Present Darkness, something about it seems familiar. To Kill a Mockingbird, I've read this one in high school. It's got a lot to it. Obviously, like I said, heavy subject matter, but it is a great book, and it's a classic for a reason. The Twilight Saga. I'm not gonna lie, I did read the first Twilight book, and I did not hate it, but I didn't love it. It was meh. Like, the thing about Twilight is, it could have been a good series. Like, I mean, she was kind of thinking outside the box, you know? But it could have just been so much better. War and Peace, that's another one that I know is pretty big, but I have not read it. The Watchers, Dean Koontz. I've never read anything by Dean Koontz, and I want to say he's kind of up there with some of the other authors. You definitely hear people talking about him, but I have not tried any of his books yet. Perhaps I should. The Wheel of Time. I don't remember that one. I remember hearing of that one. Redfern Groves. I read that one in 9th grade. I really enjoyed it. I don't remember too much about it, but I remember really liking it. I'm going to have to do a reread on that one. White Teeth. That's from 2000. I don't ever remember hearing of that one. Some of these are new. Or new. Not new, I mean, 2000 was like how many years ago, but still. Newer compared to some of the, like, Jane Austen and, Ernest Hemingway, so. But yeah, I'm gonna have to look up some even the more modern ones. And finally, we have Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. So I started reading Jane Eyre. I have not read this book yet by her sister. I hear so many mixed things. This is a classic, it's romantic, it's dark, some say it's boring. So I'm just gonna have to read it for myself. But, yeah, this video's gone on long enough, so this is a list of, like, freaking 100 books of that I either loved, never heard of, have heard of, but have not read, and there's so many more books I have to add to my TBR now. So, anyways, yeah, I was bored. I thought I'd just sit here for God knows how long and talk about freaking books. So, bye, guys. Thanks for watching.